Ladies and Germans, how you all doing? This is Con Over coming to you with some more Company of Heroes 2. Today is a 1v1 between some players you probably know pretty darn well. Spawning down here in the south, the map, of course, first of all, is Crossing in the Woods. But the first player down here in the south, playing what should be kind of more bluish OKW, but will come out looking rather yellow, is going to be Unknown Legend. Now, Unknown Legend you guys have seen before, but at the same time, what's he bringing on in? Luftwaffe ground forces, or Breakthrough, or Feuersturm. Meanwhile, up in the north, his opponent playing at the Soviets, already putting down a special rifle company. It's going to be Tomakaze. I'm not always sure it's supposed to be Tomakaze, but, you know, like, I don't know. Something, it just feels better differently. I don't know. We are going to see a penal battalion coming on out already, but what kind of commanders might we see? Well, we've got Soviet Shock Army. We also have Counterattack Tactics and Lend-Lease. Now, I know you guys definitely want to not see a Lend-Lease fight. Those things are a little bit annoying, I have to admit. But at the same time, I cannot control what these guys decide to pick. I will say, safely, that there will be some Stuka Safus action on this map, which has me a little bit of fun. Has me a little bit excited, actually. It's going to be a great bit of fun, not just a little bit. But let's get more to what's actually going on this map. So, Unknown Legend are already saddling on out to the eastern side, picked up the fuel over here. Pretty much the German expansion fuel. Soviets slowly making the way over here to the west, the southwest, really. But by having to go and build a special rifle company, well, they are slowed down by quite a bit, and we'll see the Unknown Legend take a slight resource lead, at least as this map opens from its infancy. 2 minutes in, though, we're seeing that both players are going to try to grab a VP. In fact, nope, it's going to be a 2-0. Never mind. Soviets are dropping down some razor wire to kind of make it more difficult to recapture this fuel point over here to the west. And good sirs and ladies, they definitely need to get more of that quick. But no, here we have a 2-0 cap. And Tomakaze already has fallen behind. He just has 2 squads of penal troops and combat engineers, 2 of which are within practically the same one screen width of each other. Now, if these folks Grenadiers are aggressive, we could definitely see these troops getting rocked to the core. But that's a Soviet sniper team coming on out, and Unknown Legends OKW won't have the easiest of times facing off against them. Luckily for the Germans, although the penal troops do really, really well in close combat fighting, these guys are still not quite good enough yet to have that to the last man, and that thing is just ridiculous. It just buffs all surviving penal troops so that the more that they lose, the stronger the remaining fighters are, and it's always just kind of it's a force multiplier you just can't quantify too easily. But Storm Pioneers are coming on in. Those SDGs will do some good work by themselves, and there go the penal troops. They're retreating back home. It's a good call. Now SWS is on the field, though. Schwer Wehrmacht Schlepper is all out there. But the combat engineers over here to the west are valiantly trying to defend this VP, and it's not going to go particularly well. Taking a quick look over here, Volksgrenadiers trying to find their enemy combatants, but not going to be too easy. And indeed, as they begin to get outflanked here, this is directional cover again, folks. So they have to get forced back as we speak. But it has allowed the other Volksgrenadiers to almost get into cover. These guys are technically still out in the open. But they have more than enough health to trade pretty well. But they're going to back up. And it's a little bit of wet noodle contests here. The occasional noodle does smack you in the face and does hurt you pretty bad. But for the moment, still pretty good. Wire cut is coming on out. Nifty little devices to protect against this push right here. But that scout snipers are just continuing to cause a lot of issues for Unknown Legends troops. 2-0 cap might become a trip cap. Nope, just going to be a 2-0 yet again. Mechanized regiment has been called in the meantime, and that's an interesting decision. You would be more expecting to see an early battle group headquarters, at least in my mind, mostly because these penal troops can be a little bit more effective against lighter vehicles, at least, again, to my, more uncultured, definitely pro-German mind. Post Grenadiers, in the meantime, are taking out this fuel point, going to capture out a little bit of it. Never mind, they're going to dive inside this log cabin and get aggressed on by quite a bit by these Penal troops. But the Penals don't have anywhere near enough munitions for that satchel charge. And if they did, I imagine it'd be a very, very different firefight. But now these guys are out in the open. Not quite flanked, but neither are they really quite safe. They have picked up that first star veterancy, though, so those guys will start to be more and more effective fighters as they lose models. Worth noting that Unknown Legend picked up Luftwaffe ground forces quite a bit of time ago. With these Volksgrenadiers in the area trying to hose down these retreating combat engineers with more rifle fire. That 2-1, or 2-0 has become a 1-1, which will become a 2-1, I think, fairly simply.
Enemy forces are capturing our supplies.
As instead it seems that the Germans are more concerned about territory than tickets, and I guess that makes a lot more sense in my mind. To the south, however, we see Penal troops again making a very aggressive push. And I think it might be a good time to actually utilize an incendiary grenade, and it does, but unfortunately it just goes it's just a little bit too slow, the animation cancel. Well, luckily for them, the next group is already up and in the area, going to put more fire into the Penal troops, and these guys don't technically have a ton of cover. I mean, it sort of exists, but they are really out in the open. Meanwhile, in the east, Strom Pioneers are wrecking face against those Penal troops. So Penal troops dropping a couple of models already. Not looking too good against those automatic rifles. And I'm wondering, is Unknown Legend going to try to actually go for a P2? Or is he not even, like he's... There we go, there's the P2. Haven't seen the P2 actually get utilized in quite a fair bit of time. But at 7 minutes in, the Germans are definitely controlling a good portion of this map. It's not so much a 50-50 per se. But things cannot be easy for the Soviet forces at this time. You can see right there, obviously, a recon flight coming on overhead. The Stuka, though, is not going to be any kind of combatant. Instead, just getting a little bit of an idea of what the Soviets have packing in their quiver.
Light tank ready for action.
Finally, we do have ourselves a P2 Lux, and this is going to be kind of awesome. Very interesting coloration on him. Almost looks like he has eyebrows, if you think about it. As it looks like a face to me. Anyway, getting back up and around, he is charging on to the front, and that'll do a pretty good bit of damage, I would imagine, against these Penal troops. Because again, there is just not enough munitions to call in any sort of satchel charges here. And now we're going to see ourselves a Dushka coming on in. What's more, Tomakaze has gone and brought in some PTRS rifles. A very brave idea. There's a lot of people who complain about how bad they say PTRS rifles are, but again, folks, they do have the ability to deflect lighter vehicles. You can see it happening right there. Now, where do these Fallschirmjägers come on in? Well, they're coming back in the home base. They didn't come in way the heck further up, and I'm pretty sure they can come out of ambient stuff. Yes, they can. What a shame. Penal troops are going to get nice and close to these Volksgrenadiers and will force them back. Not simply, but we'll force them back. That's the important part, I would suggest. Volksgrenadiers, in the meantime, are doing a good amount of work against these combat engineers, but they're going to come under fire from this Dushka 38. And with all the rest of the Soviet forces in this area, it does allow, at least, the Strom Pioneers to run on up here. And maybe, just maybe, throw down some S-minefields. Or not, perhaps. We'll see. Now, we have seen, of course, that Tomakaze has gone for Lend-Lease. I said that now a couple of seconds ago, but, so... I can understand people's reticence. There's been a lot of talk recently that Lend-Lease is just broken. And I get why people feel like that. The M4C Sherman is definitely an excellent endgame weapons platform. But really, other than that, I mean, this isn't really that wonderful. That's just really, you know, kind of I don't even know how to call that. It's really just, it's not that wonderful. It's an important thing right there to realize. Although this is rather good as well. So bringing in some fuel is a pretty fantastic idea. But with the OKW, with the ability to bring in all that kind of lovely anti-aircraft fire, something like this flak emplacement, that's a pretty good chance that the airplane could still get taken on out. Scout snipers, how many kills do they have? 16 kills already. So I'm surprised, in a good way, that they've been as effective as they have. Volk's Grenadiers, in the meantime, they notice that this territory has fallen out of supply. They're going to take it back really, really quickly. While at the same time, the Soviets will take back this Western fuel, so well done there. And Tank Heavy Battalion Command has been selected as the next tech structure. Obviously, that's a given, more or less. Also worth noting that this P2's going to be coming under constant PTRS fire, but oh my gosh, this Penal troops almost dead. Wow, those Penal guys are really not doing well with this. And this Dushka really could be allowing himself to go into armor-piercing rounds, but nope, not going to be the case. So the P2 takes a lot of firepower, but in the end, pulls back, gonna do alright. And these Volksgrenadiers and Fallschirmjägers could really consolidate that victory if they just advanced into this direction. Now, the masses of Volksgrenadiers are descending upon these lonely combat engineers. And while they are very, very close to that Rock 3 flamethrower, I would say that while the Soviets are definitely doing wave attacks, the Unknown Legend is massing his own forces in retaliation for that kind of particular strategy. Now, unfortunately for him, it still takes a fair bit of time before they can dig people out of fortifications like that. But Unknown Legend is actually going to go and tech into a Puma. That's an interesting call. As well, using his Fallschirmjägers to go and take these positions away from his opponent, he's able to lock down a strategic point pretty darn quickly. P2 saddling up here to the eastern side against the only squad of Penals that does not yet have PTRSs. They are going to get close enough for that satchel charge, I believe. Nope, never mind, there we go. T-70 out on the map, but that Puma is going to preempt him rather effectively, and indeed will make it rather difficult for him to get any true value. So the frustration decap and cap is being resolved in an opposite direction here, but I believe the Germans will be able to seize this position and hold it for at least long enough to decap. T-70 is going to charge after and really do a number on the Strumpio squads. That's unfortunate right there. And where's that Puma now? Okay, so this guy's going on the hunt. He's definitely looking for that T-70. And with the P2 to run as a rabbit, it is not going to be pretty. And there we go already. So the Puma's announced its presence, and it could be charging on after this, but is not going to. Instead, coming under firepower from that rather evil squad of Penal troops over here. Those convicts just don't seem to know how to fight like gentlemen. Any kind of incendiary grenades or anything like that? No. Meanwhile, over to the western side, Dushka is going to go and harass these capturing Volksgrenadiers. But the action, for me at least, is going on over here. 488 to 354. In the meantime, we are seeing the Germans are being thrust back courtesy of these scout snipers. 21 kills there. LTM-35 mine to the northern side of the bridge, a shoe mine to the south. I would like to see... Okay, well, that's not what I'd like to see. I would like to see the P2 going on the sniper hunt. Or a snipe hunt, if you will. But we might see a dead squad of... There you go, combat engineers do go down, and that's a big win, I would argue, for Unknown Legends troops. It does mean he doesn't have to worry about any more of that flame-on kind of goodness as his troops advance through the battle space. But alright, in the middle part of this field, what do we have going on here? Well, yet again, the Fallschirmjägers are pushing on out, and they're getting wrecked by all of this excellent attention. Another Dushka coming on in, but in the meantime for Tomakaze. Apparently he believes he can only really stave off a German assault by playing defensively, which just seems a little bit unfortunate. In the meantime, these Penal troops are charging on in. They might want to use the satchel charge, and they're going to. So some good damage. Nope, never mind. Animation cancel comes in before they can go and get it off. And this Puma could really be diving after this T-70. He's not going to, but he could. decent call all the same. Now, for the first time in a while, the Germans are losing some tickets here. But all in all, okay. Oh, this guy's going to hurt a lot. One shot, one kill, 5 models go down, and this Fallschirmjäger squad's going to get out pretty darn quickly. I won't say completely scot-free. They did lose a couple models and a lot of health, but still a noteworthy victory, and that was something I was really hoping to see on the first Fallschirmjäger opportunity. Now, with the death of that, this Panzer II is going to be coming on forward a little bit more, and the PTRSs, while continuing to be decent enough against light vehicles, are not going to be enough overall. You see one combat engineer squad getting forced back already, the other one dropping to half strength. The penal troops barely have any health left. And dear God, is it beautiful. And yet terrifying at the same time. Now, will he take out this Dushka machine gun? That's a question right there. I don't know, but this Puma's got 2 kills, and he's going to back away in the face of negative attention. It's a good call. His other Dushka, wow, it's come up on the flank and has definitely bring this guy under enfilading fire. Is not going to be pleasant. Now, will there be a Faust coming on out here? That would be a pretty good idea. No, not going to get a chance to do so. And indeed, we see this SWS could definitely transfer himself into this particular Schwerpanzer headquarters in about 1 second. Skadoosh. Heck, even putting him about right here would be a decent idea. The T-70 can't charge. It'll get blown to shreds. And the Dushka, well, the Dushka, my friends, will just not do well. And given the fact that Unknown Legend has to know what his opponent's using, he's up 100 tickets. And he's not gotten a perfect roster of units to combat his enemy's forces. But he's got a decent one for the time being, I would argue. These guys are not quite out of cover just yet, but it'll happen soon enough. Models are beginning to drop here. I think they're just trying to stick it out until they can capture that point. And good usage, though, of this P2. Now, again, I'm trying to think about that late game idea. Okay, suppressing fire. So no longer does he do it automatically, which is kind of a shame. Because it was freaking fantastic whenever that happened. He does know in the meantime that the scout plane is coming on out. So he's going to rotate at all to hide this particular grouping? No, he's not. He's going to allow himself to be seen no matter what. A brave decision, I'd say. A brave decision. But then again, he's just waiting to get these M4C Shermans out. SWS still kind of hanging on back over here. And a satchel charge coming on out, so the folks going to do is make it out before the satchel goes off. And that is probably the best way to not lose a completely vital piece of your equipment. Keep it, paying attention, really. Alright, in the meantime, Dushka is going to set on up and going to really just blow apart this entire assault. Indeed, pinned on one side already. Both retreat. It's a good decision there. Faust coming on out? Yep, Faust away. Damage to the engine of that T-70, but the Puma and the P2 are not going to charge out after it. Good decision, I would say. 433 to 349. We're also going to see a bit of a surprise for any German Fallschirmjägers that want to come out of that building. Sniper team is still in play, 27 kills now, doing pretty darn well. And these PTRSs, again guys, if you want to check that out, PTRSs have done a lot of work. Have inspired that P2 to fall back pretty much all by himself. Now, when the Schwerpanzer headquarters finishes though, it is going to be hard for that Dushka to stay in one place. And shockingly enough, he seems to have that, they both know the other one's there. I guess he just can't see it, barely. Oop, one of the snipers has gone down, and the other one's going to get away. Okay, so well done there. But it has allowed the Germans in the meantime to capture up the western side of the map. They still hold both fuel points, which is insane to me because it just should not happen. But here is the first M4C. Now the problem with that for the Soviets is that they only have one of them, obviously, at this point. And why this guy really can't see this? That's kind of incredible to me. Don't tell me. Oh my gosh. So this is going to take out this Puma. What a ridiculousness. Oh my gosh. Alright. So M4C is going to do some good work in the meantime until Unknown Legend can get that P4 out. And remember, guys, this is a more upgunned P4. This is a P4 of a later variety. The Aus, couldn't even tell you what that actually stands for. But the Aus J. Upgunned, up-armored. Nothing like the lighter vehicles that we had seen earlier. Oh no, it's a second or two away from getting a munitions point. Literally a couple of pixels, that was it. Looking to redress that right now, it looks like. There we go, that's one. Is to take this point up here to the eastern side as well, stop the bleed. And alrighty, so here comes the charging M4. Which is a bit of a hard nut to crack here. P2 is going to come in behind, going to try to delay all of this negative infantry support. And maybe, just maybe, we will see... Oof. Satchels galore. Is that satchel coming on out? He's got to get rid of the infantry now before the satchel comes in again. Main gun destroying the P2. That poor guy is probably going to die. 4 starts a veterancy as well. Yep, he goes down, but because of the T-70 more than anything else. But here comes P4. P4 is going to get some good damage down, and that's going to be the end for the M4C. Now my question is another satchel charge? Yep, there we go. Oh no, they get suppressed just before it gets off, and they might even die before it happens. They don't get it. They do not get it, ladies and gentlemen, and that might have been one of the last chances he was going to get. To even have a prayer of killing him. Now, that 3cm anti-aircraft gun is going to turn... 3cm or 2cm? Is going to completely push back this T-70, and the P4 is going to just... administer that final coup de grace. So, guts and balls of steel there on Unknown Legend, sticking it out. I know a lot of other players were freaked out and just completely ended it. But while he lost greatly to do it, he has thrown the Soviet forces back into disarray. It's been a very long time before another Sherman comes on out, since Tomakaze has not pressured at all either of these positions. But at 22:15, where are we, folks? Well, what we are is we are at the Soviets getting pressured back as the Germans continue to squeeze them out here, and it looks like it's going to be a trip cap in favor of those Soviets. But let's not count Tomakaze out just yet. His Dushkas are moving on forward, looking to take some of these positions back for the good old motherland, as the scout snipers continue to actually be alive, and that's a giant victory in and of itself. And what's more, we're seeing a lot of his infantry is almost either completely vetted up or very, very close to do so. Dushka is really the only one's lagging heavily behind, and his combat engineers, well, frankly, because the combat engineers are not great fighting troops. Gonna go pretty darn well as well when those Germans take bad engagements out in the open. P4 is shifting on forwards, and these guys are gonna probably get a satchel charge out, and no, they're gonna back away. I would have thought it'd be a decent idea to charge on in, but oh well. Heck, making more PTRSs would have been a particularly, what about at least allowed them to deflect more than anything else. That trip cap is already falling apart, though. Going to be a 1-to-1 and then a 2-to-1 for the Soviets over the Germans. And it looks like the Soviets are finally showing some life over here on the western side, taking this fuel point away as detritus, or detritus, I'm not even sure how to call that, falls from the sky. Worth noting in the meantime, there's a TM-35 mine, and in a rather well-traveled area for the Germans. Now, one thing I never really like about this particular approach is that the Germans themselves don't ever leave their vehicles until they get blown out of them. I mean, I'm sure you could use that as like some sort of social commentary for the Germans during the war, but it seems a little bit ridiculous to me. In the meantime, though, Strem Pioneers do keep their tank with a little bit of a travel buddy here. Though I think a lack of any battle group headquarters is starting to tell in terms of in terms of health, I would say overall. The Germans have invested quite a bit in these medical supplies. You can see there's still a couple of boxes on the ground, a couple of stacks left, but it doesn't seem to be, for me, to be the best way to utilize that. What's the term I'm looking for here? Those munitions. It just doesn't seem like there's a great idea. Now making 2 MG42s on top of your tanks, now that's definitely darn good. And there goes a penal squad right there, and those guys have PTRSs. So that's a good victory And I believe these P4s are now starting to maraud around the map. Bad news for Tomakaze, though. He has just built himself a support weapon compania. So here come the Zisguns, I'm sure of it. And if they're not coming, I have to ask the question, why, you know, in the holiest name, wouldn't they be? Volksgrenadiers are going to frustrate these combat engineers before they're able to take this fuel point for themselves. But it slows down the German fuel generation, and that's a victory in and of itself, I'd imagine. You know, on the western side, although the Soviets still do control that fuel point, the TM-35 mines seem to have been called on out by the Sturm Pioneers, who are dropping their own mine, but it's not going to even explode.
The enemy is encroaching on our territory.
And there's that first Zisgun, finally allowing that some anti-tank, some legitimate anti-tank, to exist for the Soviet Red Army. Fallschirmjäger is getting forced back, but those guys have done decently well so far. I don't know if that's the one... No, that was the one who ran on out, threw a grenade, and took out the entire Dushka 38. So it's hard to sling any hate at those guys. Remaining Fallschirmjäger, though, he's getting pinned down by that Dushka and slaughtered, really, by the scout snipers. I'm surprised the scout snipers have had enough effect as they have. So, taking out that garrison right there, but allowing the Zisk on the first round in this newest engagement. A little bit concerned about the fact that there is a mine right there, and he hasn't moved back, and there's any kind of near miss. Okay, there we go. And the second Zisgun, that's a good call right there as well. So Volksgrenadiers are kind of shifting on in, looking to push back in the center line. And luckily enough, thanks to that bridge...
We are losing supplies to the enemy.
Let me check this out for a second, because it's kind of strange to me that it doesn't immediately hit. Then you realize it's a much higher elevation. So Unknown Legend taking advantage
The enemy has cut off a sector.
of that tiny bit of elevation to keep his troops safe, so well done there. Now I'm wondering, will we see any kind of real true aggression over here to the west? I mean, for the most part, it doesn't seem to affect the battle too much. Those combat engineers, in the meantime, though, getting slaughtered. And in turn, we're going to see a light arty barrage of 60 munitions for one single HE round. And other than that, not so much happening. But alright. I really would like to see Battle Group Headquarters coming up from Unknown Legend. I know at some point we will get ourselves a Stuka Sofus. But it just hasn't happened yet. It could be actually kind of fun right now. 390 manpower and that 100 fuel. Could be a very, very good surprise for the Rodina. And there we go. Okay, so now we finally have the tank shifting over here to the western side with some support from Volksgrenadiers. Trying to get some negative attention against that Zisgun, but the Zisgun will get a couple of rounds off pretty easily. And both Zisguns are here. Volksguns are completely pinned. That's not good. And without these Dushkas, both of those Zisguns would be dead. But very excellently placed here. Just the overlapping fields of fire, or in the near overlapping fields of fire, keep them safe. Now here's the question. Do the Soviets have anybody close enough that will be, which I'm looking for, able to see this mine? Where is that combat engineer squad? He's a little bit far back.
Our headquarters is taking enemy fire.
And there he goes. That's always kind of fun to see. Unfortunate, obviously, but fun to see. Supply plane gets taken out courtesy of all the flak emplacements back in home base for the Germans, and that was the queerest shot in the world. Because I think that was a curveball, man. Alrighty, but we are going to get that Stuka Sofus, and that's going to be fantastic. The Germans, for the first time in the entire game, 30 minutes in, finally do have a full-up squad of veteran Volksgrenadiers. I suppose I'm interested to see Stuka Sofus 101 and what that's going to look like. It's basically just don't group up your units, because that should be 101 for pretty much every faction. But with the loss, honestly, with the loss of that supply plane, that's 100 munitions down the drain that'll never, ever be coming back. Now the M4C will get called on in, so that's a positive right there, but munitions for fuel that didn't end up coming, that's a shame. Geez, 42 kills in that bad boy. Let's keep an eye on this Stuka Safus, though, because I imagine we need a fairly quick barrage. M4C's right in the area, though. Time to back away. Back away. Swim away! No, he won't do it. He refuses to give ground. Although, I imagine, honestly, firing these rockets right over there. 280 millimeter rounds would be fantastic to watch. And you can just do it anytime you want to, big guy. I'm waiting on you. But 30 minutes have now passed. 30-30 has just passed. In fact, 393 to 212, the score. And while the Soviets have got themselves a 2-1 cap, this now newly entering recon plane will indicate a great target opportunity, I think. Yep, and here we go. Right about here, I believe. Yep. And that is the benefit of really using Luftwaffe ground forces as your commander. You have a nice little bit of recon that you can use pretty much for free to pick on any of your enemy's hardcore positions here. Now, the P4s are going to be engaged by this M4C, but, oh no, only one of them. Where's the other one going? Okay, he's going after these penal troops over here, the eastern side, so just kind of rotating over. Probably a decent idea there. But this does allow the Zis guns to start beating on this P4 if he charges on in, and he's going to. But the machine gun as well, ooh, taking a hefty hit there. He will back away, and that's a good call. Like, he's got barely about, what, 15%, 20% life left? And here we go, so Valiant Assault. So now we're going to see infantry just charging on in, trying to get those snipers and not doing it effectively. And unfortunately, those snipers have just been terror personified for the Germans. 43 kills. But that is very, very quick units coming in off of the Germans. Although we are seeing them, for some reason, engaging this tank with automatic weapons. So that's a bit of a mistake there. P4 rotating up, though. Is he going to try to draw this guy over the bridge? No. He refuses to be baited on over. Instead, this P4 is coming on in himself, being lured over the bridge. And there's still... Oh, that TM-35 mine's gone, so that's a positive right there for the Germans. They no longer have to be too concerned about something lying in wait. But the western garrison has also been, I think, completely leveled in just a second. I'm not 100% sure. Can say for sure that these Volksgrenadier squad, he's got the veteran team, he's got to run. M4C was going to get aggressed on by this P4, but the P4 decides better than to do that. And yep, there goes the building. That's a good position right there. And Unknown Legend now is taking a couple of strat points. And I don't think this M4C can really be the terror that it wants to be. It's also thinking about the fact that there are still all these flak emplacements, so if there's another supply run, well, I know where there's a lot of anti-aircraft power. 1, 2, it was a 3, 4. There's so much firepower here. I'd be very surprised if it makes it alive. This gun, in the meantime, does try to line up over here. Not going to do a whole lot. Going to get any sort of Stuka Safus barrage? Well, not quite yet. 374 to 195. An Su-76 is going to be the choice for Tomakaze. An interesting one, if nothing else. Dushka, in the meantime, will be able to cover this western approach, but he's going to be caught on out from the east. And it looks like that this thing's been caught out. Thank you so much for the combat engineers. There we go. So hitting that main arterial, completely decrewing that one Zis gun. A good amount of kills. So it's another 6. We've got another 4 kills from that. So well done there. And despite the fact, though, that he's now has a significant, I would say, map presence advantage on the field, the Germans can't aggress completely thanks to this M4C that's just barely able to hold on. And the Su-76 as well. I'm wondering, will we see a third tank, or will we see Unknown Legend kind of just stick with what he's got? He can really do whatever he wants to here. 14, 12, heck, he can even wait for a Panther. Bring his troops back up to full strength. Maybe not that one, unfortunately, but he will take this western fuel. He's got the eastern fuel, and the Soviets, well, they've got nothing, my friends. They have no caches up. And it's going to be a little bit of time before they're able to take that position back over here to the west. However, the MG-34 does go down. And that's a bit of a shame. But all things considered, when looking at the entire war machine for the Germans, it's not the greatest loss. And one thing that is surprising to me is that... Okay, here comes a Panther. Is that Unknown Legend has not tried to hit either one of these points over here, either to the left or towards the central position. And indeed, although he is up by a hefty number of tickets, you don't want to play with fire and give your opponent too long to get back into a particular game. I'm certainly hoping he's not going to do that here. I've seen that happen in a couple of games recently, and that could be, it could end in tears. Too much ha-ha, pretty soon boo-hoo. But it is going to be some armor play over here, and looks like this is going to be a bumped... Ooh, it's going to be a bumped... Yikes. Yikes. Damaged engines. The M4C lures one to its death. The siren song right into the Zis gun and the M4C rounds. So well baited there. We have two different vehicles that are barely limping along for the Soviets, and that's pretty much what you'd expect out of the Soviets during this current moment. And indeed, though, we are seeing engagement by these Fallschirmjägers, not the greatest plan. And interestingly enough, scout snipers have been throwing out their flares. Where are you facing, my friend? Okay, so this Dushka just vanishes completely. The Zis gun vanishes completely. In fact, there's nothing left of it. It gets completely taken out. 18 kills now to his name. Su-76 goes out, and I believe this is going to be the death knell. Oh, he just throws it to the left of that Panther just for fun. P4 does go down, I think, courtesy of one last round. But, yeah. That is a hefty hit on both sides there. So the two vehicles both going down, but this Stukosafus, first of all, has just picked up that very, very vital veterancy rank 1, which gives him that what's it called, a buff to his reload time. So another Zisgun coming on in. It's a very valiant attempt here, but I would be very concerned, or the Soviets, and indeed, that is happening as we speak. I mean, the PTRS and satchel charges going after that Dushka gonna make it a little bit more expensive to reinforce, but, you know, if that's what he's got to do, that's what he's got to do. Volksgun and Diaz sidling in towards them, silent death after a fashion. Charging on in with those STGs might be able to push these guys back. Nope, not that easy. And the next barrage that comes in could be kind of fun. 28 seconds to go on that one, but it doesn't seem to be the easiest engagement for anyone. 307 to 195. The Germans will continue to lose tickets at a kind of a slow bleed. And, good God, 44 kills on that guy. Is there anybody that even comes close to that? 18, the closest, I think, on the Germans. 15, 8, 16, 10. Yeah, actually, the closest one might be the Stukosafus, or this most vetted up squad of Volksgun and Diaz. And I just pressed the wrong button there. Feed me, guys. Alright, Stukosafus, though, has another barrage up and ready to go. So, will we see another recon run, or will we see something more intense? I.e. a nice little bit of engagement that gets supported by a lot of indirect fire. I just want to continue to just watch this guy because these have been surprisingly effective barrages. Okay, now if you can pick off these snipers, that would be the piece de resistance, I would have to say. And Tomakaze is desperately trying to hold out for another M4C. And meanwhile, Unknown Legend just kind of chills, man. He doesn't have to worry about too much. And there is the recon run. Snipers were up inside enemy territory. They're going to get found out. Oof, and they finally go down, so those silent Soviet killers are brought low. Meanwhile, Stukosafus rushes on in. I think he's going to try to get a shot off on this. Yes, he is. The Soviets are moving, but the question is it fast enough? It's going to probably hit this mine, if nothing else. Yikes. Oh my god. So going after the Dushka and completely devastates that crew. There's some really good work on those penal troops as well. The Germans are losing their eastern VP, but they're taking both the central one as well as this western one pretty much without fear. 22 kills now on that Stukas, and I think he's the biggest killer on the map. And this Panther, eager to get his own claws wet, is coming over here to start to beat on these negative cover machine gunners, and that's just not going to go well for them. They are able to hold on just long enough to cap out that point. And hopefully the Panther doesn't get too gutsy and chase after to go into this mine right here. Would be rather interesting. But, of course, a foolish loss. Shoe mines. Oh, are there any not SDGs, excuse me. More TM-35 mines. They're just mining up the area over here, so they're really concerned about the German infantry swinging on around, which should be fine, except that the Germans don't seem to be too concerned about that eastern side of the map for the second. They are taking this point here, and they are beating down as PTRSs, and while the squad preservation was so good for the first 20 minutes or so, Unknown Legend has really kicked this up into a high notch here, high gear. Yikes. Light arty barrage coming on, and the Fallschirmjägers need to back up, and they back up just before they're able to pick that last sliver for the triple cap. Sturm Pioneers are getting in nice and close, but these guys are not going to be able to stand with the firepower that's in this area. How about you, good sir? Do you want to go and rescue your brethren? Because that needs to happen pretty darn quickly if you do. Now, we could see a nice barrage coming up the forest, and if we do, that would definitely, I think in my mind, take out the Dushkas. But for the moment, we don't see that Stukas moving anywhere, and indeed, I think he's just taking a break. You know, I killed 22 guys. Time to let somebody else do some of the work here. Volksgrenadiers have 22 kills as well, so finally keeping pace. Ooh, but this could be another one. So this gun's will set on up. Okay, so mines exploded any second now. Yeah, the rear armor hits are going to come in hot and heavy, rather fiercely, I think, as well. And here it comes. So goodbye, Zesguns. Alas, we knew you well. They're just in such an enclosed space, I don't think they're going to make it out alive. Hey, wow. That's shockingly minimal in terms of damage. 27 kills, though, so in the meantime, while that guy is just kind of taking a bit of a break, having a little bit of a Milka, Volksgrenadiers will sweep in after to probably take out, at least decrew one of these guns. But not before running into another TM-35 mine. Another M4C's been called on in, but in terms of one-on-one potential, it not that hard to really call a victor here. The Panthers should be able to do it, especially if there's one Faust coming on out for any of the infantry squads here. I realize, of course, I just said, you know, one-on-one and then noted the effective infantry squads, but let's not focus on that right now, folks. Where are we in the meantime for score? 279 to 132. We are approaching 43-15. And this Panther seems to be kind of hunkering down in the forest, kind of like playing, you can't see me, I'm a 55-ton monster and you can't see me. Yes, I don't know if he's 55 tons. I have to admit my tonnage knowledge is a little bit minimal. And those Germans over here on the west need to back up immediately. That includes the tank. He's only being missed ever so slightly by the function of that little brouhaha. But I get the feeling we're going to be seeing another barrage over here to the west pretty darn soon. Maybe in the area of this munitions point? I don't know. But we'll see it soon enough. I marked my words there. Now, would be kind of fun as well to see ambient buildings being utilized for Fallschirmjägers, but there's an awful lot of blown out buildings. It's going to be a little bit difficult for him to manage it. Yeah, that's completely gone. Maybe over here to the eastern side? Maybe. A couple of shacks there. But another potential for explosions is right in this area here, and I'm hoping to see the Stukas get his second star of veterancy, because, hey, that would allow even better frequency than the range, and then rockets, and it's ridiculous. It's almost too much to even think about. Now, one thing that Unknown Legend is not doing well, though, is he's not bringing in other tanks. He's got more than enough fuel to support a much bigger armored core. He's just not doing so. I can almost understand it. There we go. Königstiga is on the map. Never mind, I take it all back. I take it all back, my friends. And with the Königstiga, excuse me, on the map, well, that M4C is completely outgunned. That Panther now has a friend in the Tiga. And these disc guns are spread out because they don't want to be taken out by a single rocket barrage. And I think this captured MG-34 is not long for this world. There he goes. He goes down. Disc guns do reposition themselves. One does anyway. The other shifting on over. Yes, it does. But this is only just a small bit of a bait, really, when you think about it. Doesn't do as much as I thought it would. Unfortunately, dropping off a little bit in efficacy on that particular firing. But with a triple cap in favor for the Soviets, I have no idea how that happened. I think it was because Unknown Legend was just laying back and trying to make sure that he could bring that Königstiga in very quickly. But Tomakaze is almost close to getting another M4C. It's another minute or so away, but it's still pretty darn close. And now the Germans are losing their eastern fuel as well. Not sure what a lot of this infantry's been doing in the meantime. I think it was just kind of having a little bit of R&R. These guys have been working pretty darn hard. And you, good sir, need to be doing more. Flushmakers, in the meantime, coming up right into the guns of this Dushka. And unsurprisingly getting forced on back. Now, these penal troops are going to face the same kind of enemy attention, though, with a lot of STG fire, taking out a couple of models on retreat. And as we pass 46.5 minutes, that gap of 100 and some odd, 150-ish, tickets has faded now down to just under 70. And this is the time when these metal monsters need to start doing their thing. M4C is back in the fight. He's right in the middle part of the map. He's going to do crazy amounts of crush, I think, against these Volksgrenadiers. If nothing else, these guys are getting carved to pieces by the close-range automatic fire. And frankly, all the negative attention is just not good for their morale. And they're going to back away. But the Germans have allowed this, have leveraged this into a taking of the eastern side of things. And we're going to get another barrage soon. I think we are. Now, it is HE rounds, but if you drop a 28-centimeter rocket on top of somebody's head, you would think that'd be good enough to destroy said tank. Now, guys, you have seen me, maybe if you have, if you might have seen me start to cast things like Steel Division Normandy 44, and that is probably the one thing I do appreciate about that, that the HE rounds being utilized there do eventually do good damage against enemy tanks. Even not specifically being an AP round. But 2 rounds from the Königstiga does do enough damage to send one M4C back to get some repair work done. The paint getting more than a little bit scratched on that. And in the meantime, the Germans are going to start to run through all of these mines. I thought there was mines over here. There was one right up here. So 3, 2, 1. Oh, they're stopping just shy of it. Beautiful. Completely accidental, and indeed, here comes the butcher's price, I think. No, that Dushka just was fired in just too early. Barely too early, and ruined the surprise. That could have been a great thing to have a mine go off and then the machine gun to open up. Resist guns are still in the area, and now here comes another ranging shot. Gonna hammer, I think, this area right about here, maybe hopefully shooting across this diagonal. No. Oh, shooting off to the left-hand side, blowing apart one of the Zis guns. And that has just decreased the danger for these enemy tanks by, like, at least a third. I guess I would say a third. M4C is charging on in. It's kind of a ridiculous mindset here. And he's going to pay for it, I would assume. Between the Königstiga and the Panther, he's thrown a couple of rounds and in peak after that Königstiga, but it barely does anything to him. Panther does come on forwards, and I think this is going to be a little bit of an armor engagement. But when you're fighting between the Königstiga and a couple of Shermans, I think it's insane, my friends. There we go, rear armor hit. One more shot will do it from the Panther. One more. No, they're not going to do it. No, they are not going to take him on out. But here comes Blitzkrieg, what's it called? Blitzkrieg maneuvers? I don't see it used very often in combat blitz, excuse me. And this Panther might be able to get that last shot in now. No, he's just going to let him go. He's going to play with his food. And this is going to be a bad surprise for him. Oh no, it gets found out just in time, so he doesn't set it off. So very, very lucky. Is this gun in the meantime? Well, he's taking a lot of negative attention. He's going to get forced back. And I would say these shrimp pioneers need to run. And run quickly and run far. And they still go down, those poor, poor sods. Koenigsegg is in the area, though, still putting some good fire down against this Maschinengewehr. And deflects it long enough to allow the German troops to sidle back and forth, take some more territory off the eastern side, and indeed allow their own troops, and allow the VP bleed to begin again in favor of the Reich. We might finally see one of those very vetted up squads of Volksgrenadiers go down. Yes, there we go. That's a dead squad there. But a short barrage going to probably take out this. Yep. Takes out the Zisgun. Completely decrewed. Now, if this Koenigsegg came in and put a couple rounds into it to take it out, that might be the best option. The question is, does he actually see it? There we go. And it takes it out. Definitely a good decision. Two M4Cs moving on in to kind of do some more damage. But again, these guys are heavily outgunned, I would say. And I'm wondering if the Champagnes here will be upgraded with the combat package. Probably not, because we don't ever have cold warfare. Panther does run into both M4Cs. Might be able to take out one of them before he dies, though. Does enough damage, because now we have a 2-to-1 cap in favor of this Deutsches Armee. And one more round will be enough. And yep, that 88 is enough to send him packing. There are a couple of Zisgun rounds coming in behind, but all things considered, 42 kills for the Stuka Safus. One more barrage will be enough to take this bad boy out as well. And after adding insult to injury, the Germans are seizing this Western VP, and they're seizing the fuel point away from the Soviets. So, with the Dushka kind of coming in to kind of scout for the Zisgun, and both German tanks falling back for just a second or two,
The enemy has cut off a sector.
I think the Soviets are on their last legs. Although we will likely see one more M4C coming on out. The question is, he's going in that area? Yep, he is.
We have lost a machine gun crew.
And unfortunately for the Soviets, that first rocket comes on down. This guy's got 52 kills.
You are showing weakness. We are
Very
down
well
to
done.
75
Very well done.
points.
And even what's more, the Germans have not even run across this explosive trap, let's call it. Though we are going to see a Dushka coming on in and seizing it for the motherland, at least for the time being. Panther shifts on in. It's going to take some PTRS fire, but please, he's just barely scratching the paint there. And indeed, we're going to see Volksgrenadiers charging in after them, and this is going to be bloody. There we go. So, a bit of death and destruction being done. And just as I was giving that props to the Germans for not running across it, well, they run across it. I thought perhaps for half a second they hadn't gone and done so because they had seen it beforehand, but maybe he lost, the focus on it. Maybe he was just paying attention to other things. I don't know. I don't know. But the Fallschirmjägers have their MP38s, and because they are Fallschirmjägers, they are able to just kind of camouflage when in cover, which is pretty fantastic. Alright, what do we got going on the center part of the map? Another M4C is coming out to play, which means this Koenigsegg is going to be happy a few more seconds here. At 143 to 65, I think this might be one of the final engagements of this map. Panther charges on in. He's going to not want to be distracted for this entire thing. Okay, PTRS is taken finally. There we go. I was wondering why they weren't going for it. Maybe it was a bit of an FU. Maybe they're trying to lure in troops. I don't know. But the M4Cs are completely outgunned. They have to know that. And with 52 kills on this bad boy, he could get another barrage off and probably take out this anti-tank position here and do some, at least frustration damage. Yep, there we go. They're dead. Beautiful. Just beautiful. 57 kills on that bad boy. Germans have just 3 squads of infantry left, though. Soviets are not in much better shape, which is the interesting part to me. Unknown Legend, I'm hoping, will make it in a couple more squads of Sturmpioneers. He's got these medics over here, the mechanics. But really, all he's got to do is just ride the coattails of these heavy tanks to victory. Problem with that is that these Königstigers are so freaking slow. But another Panther will definitely help him be more places at once. And now, with Tomakaze having next to nothing left, he's got 2 guys with, well, 4 PTRS rifles, to put it that way, and 2 Shermans. And the Shermans are heavily, heavily outgunned, as I've been saying throughout most of this cast. However, they will be able to do some good work, I would say, against these Volksgrenadiers. No. Volksgrenadiers are going to be frustrated by this combat engineer squad here. It is my hope, though, these guys don't go down, because that'd be a bad, bad loss. Bad loss. He goes down. Please, Unknown Legend, don't toss it away here. You had this game. I don't want you to lose this right now. Be very, very shameful. Panther is saddling on over, though, so I think he's got himself some targets in mind. Other Panther coming on in as well. We still do have these Fallschirmjägers that could come in from different parts of the map. Like I said, this one over here still exists. Not so much over here. I don't think there's any buildings to be coming in over here. Nope, I don't think so. But 1 Panther is coming under fire already. The question is from what? Well, looks like it's going to be from these little peanut battalion troops here. Any satchel charge coming on out? Yep, here it comes. Going to do some damage, I think, to the Königstigers, but all things considered, you know, just really kind of denting the Defender.
Our territory is falling into enemy hands.
And at 132 to 65, Tomakaze doesn't have really any prayer of getting back into this one. Now, had he been using his infantry to kind of cap aggressively, even as he was getting his guys blown to pieces in different parts of the map, he might have been able just to sacrifice bodies for time in a long enough fashion that the Germans wouldn't be able to get more troops, well, get their own troops in the area. This Sherman right here is going to go on down. Faust? No, no, don't send this guy forward. He's so brave. Alright, good, good. Whew. Really concerned for a second there. 2-0 cap, going to be a trip cap in just a moment. And 1 more barrage. We're going to see 1 more barrage out of that bad boy? I don't know.
Enemy forces capturing supply sector.
The PTRS MP38, I think, squad Fallschirmjägers will just kind of get aggressed on quite a bit. Gonna turn around, 1 more barrage? Maybe. Maybe. If Tomakaze doesn't just tap out. Here we go. I don't know. Is he going to try to figure this out? He's going to completely whiff. It's a complete whiff. For the first time, this guy completely whiffs. Königstigers, no, excuse me, Panther in the meantime is just kind of hanging out in the middle part of the field. And I dare say, a P4 coming on the map. So 2 Panthers, a Panzer IV, and a Königstiger. If that's not so many felines, too many cats for you, I don't even know what will be. There we go, that's 1 M4C. Other Panthers trooping on in. Is he going to take out other squads here? No, he's just kind of lorded over everybody else. What kind of kills do these guys have? Okay, not going to matter. Tomakaze does surrender. So, man of the match, I would say, obviously goes to the 57 kill Stukas Afus. Though there were some really great plays. I think it was this Fallschirmjäger squad? No, this one. With the grenade before that took out a very, very offensive Dushka. But regardless, well played to Tomakaze to hold on as long as he did. In my mind, if he had just been able to trade bodies for time, like I said before, he might have been able to either push his game further or to take the game altogether. Regardless, well played to Unknown Legend. I like seeing games like this that kind of seesaw back and forth a bit. And folks, thank you so much for sticking with me through this rather long game. That's going to be it for me today. I'll see you guys all soon. You all have a great day. This is Conor Work signing off. Take it easy.